Welcome to Back in the Groove. If you're new here, my name's Keith and I'm getting back into my vinyl collection after having it in storage for more than 25 years. Now, the other day I was listening to some music by a firm favourite of mine and thinking to myself how sad it was that he was no longer with us, but even how much worse it felt because his death, in all honesty, could have been avoided and was brought about by the misuse of drugs, alcohol, as so many of our past heroes have met their demise because of that misuse. And I just thought maybe a short video to touch on some artists that we've lost over the years due to alcohol, drugs, etc., that are sadly no longer with us, but maybe use this as a way to kind of celebrate them a little bit. And so, the first guy I want to mention is probably my favorite of all time is Phil Lynott. And I was a massive, still am a massive Thin Lizzy fan, but a particular Phil Lynott fan. Loved the solo work that he was doing as well, going in that sort of softer direction. I just think he had so much about him. Not only was he an amazing songwriter, but he had that unique voice that maybe not technically the best voice in the world, but he just had so much character and charisma that he developed over his incredibly short life. So Phil died on the 4th of January 1986. I remember exactly where I was the night he died. I was in a pub in Norton in the northeast and hanging out with a bandmate at the time, or an ex-bandmate, and we were both stunned at the announcement. It was about 9 o'clock. I remember it distinctly coming on the news and announcing that Phil Lynott had passed away. Now, I think he died of pneumonia officially, but it was as a result of complications resulting from cocaine and alcohol as well. Now, we're lucky that in his 36 years, he produced some incredible stuff with Thin Lizzy, with Grand Slam. We've got some other things like War of the Worlds, that where he made some cameos. So we have a good body of work, and we're still seeing releases with new altered versions of material from Phil. So fantastic artist, probably my number one of all time. Certainly, probably next to Ronnie James Dio, the guy that I miss the most. Certainly. Now, another absolute superstar that was gone way too soon was Tommy Bolin. Tommy Bolin, of course, at the time was in Deep Purple, but he'd had a past playing, with all sorts of people. He'd done his solo albums, Teaser, of course, Private Eyes. He'd played with the James Gang, the album Bang being a particular favorite of mine. This is a absolutely stellar solo album of his. I mean, look at him on here. Kind of how happy he seems in this. It just seems so sad that he's no longer with us. Such a talented guitarist and an amazing songwriter as well. Had his own unique style, completely changed Deep Purple's vibe with him coming in after Richie Blackmore. The album Come Taste the Band, with his influence and Glenn Hughes's, was just a melting pot of sort of funk and soul being added to the rock music of the time. Seemed like a really nice guy as well. I've seen him in interviews, very softly spoken, humble guy. His vocals seem to portray that as well. Got a real soft tone to his vocals. I actually really enjoy his vocals as well as his guitar playing. Again, not technically the best singer in the world, but just something about his style, how laid back some of his vocals could be on the more kind of acoustic tracks that he would do. But another guy that is just gone way too soon. Now, he died 4th of December 1976 at the age of just 25, which is absolutely criminal. And that was as a result of heroin. And I know he was big friends with Glenn Hughes, and we know that Glenn had a horrendous drug problem as well for many years, even decades. Um, and thankfully, he's someone who's been able to come out of the other side of all of that and still be producing great stuff for us. Now, another guy that we've lost is Bon Scott. Slightly different in that, as far as I'm aware, drugs weren't involved in his death, but he was clearly a big drinker and ended up dying of alcohol poisoning on the 19th of February 1980 at the age of 33. I think if I remember rightly, he was found in a friend's car. He'd been out drinking, and I think they'd put him in the car because he was just so intoxicated and ended up dying of acute alcohol poisoning. Now, I think it's such a shame for him because there were AC/DC were really just hitting the big time. I think they had a good deal of popularity at the time with great albums such as this, Highway to Hell, and he's got some fantastic performances on here. But I would have really loved to have seen what AC/DC could have done had he not sadly passed away, and they could have moved forward with him. Now, having said that, of course, if that doesn't happen, this terrible tragic event, then we don't get amazing albums like Back in Black and what have you. But a terrible loss, and a great singer. That sort of growly, gravelly voice again. Such a character, such a stage presence. The way he'd, drive around the stage with Angus Young on his shoulders, completely unique and a real seemed to have a real cheekiness about him. But very sadly missed too. Next up is an amazing drummer, John Bonham of Led Zeppelin, of course. Just a guy who, without doubt, one of the world's best drummers. I think people are still trying to emulate the sound that he was able to get from the drums, and the way he played them with such power and ferocity. I think that people just can't seem to match that. Now, he died 25th of September 1980 at the age of 32, and this was another alcohol related loss, with him ending up choking on his own vomit after a heavy night of drinking. And I think he had some ridiculous levels of alcohol in his system at the time. And of course, it was really to be the end of Led Zeppelin as we knew them. Of course, they have performed together in later years with John Bonham's son Jason on drums by way of kind of tribute to his late father, of course. And again, such a tragic loss to lose these musicians, and not only to lose John Bonham himself, but to lose Led Zeppelin effectively as a band, as a whole, as a result of John's passing, much in the way that Rush have come to an end after the loss of Neil Peart, albeit on completely different circumstances, etc. But again, another amazingly talented musician that's no longer with us. And staying with drummers, I thought I'd give a mention to Keith Moon. Now, I'll be honest, I am not the greatest Who fan, but I was a great lover from what I knew of Keith Moon. His character, he was just a crazy kind of guy, always up to some sort of antics, a really colourful character, and a really great drummer. Quite different in a lot of ways to John Bonham. A lot sort of crazier on drums, shall we say? A lot more dynamic, and he was just a totally different animal. But you can see even from the picture on the back of this, that's the sort of character in him with the very colourful clothes, the expression, etc. And an amazing drummer. Now, he died 7th of September 1978 at the age of 32, and was an overdose on sedatives, I believe, and another tragic loss. But he's not the only loss that we have with the Who. We've also got John Entwistle, of course, who was thought of as one of the best bass players probably ever as well, and to have both Keith Moon and John Entwistle, both highly regarded musicians. Now, some of that's probably nostalgia. These bands were the earlier bands, the pioneers, but a great bass player as well, and a big songwriter for the band as well. I think some novelty things like Boris the Spider, of course, but a great musician. Now, his death came about on the 27th of June 2002. He was about 57, and I think it was in the Hard Rock Cafe, maybe Vegas, I want to say. But apparently he'd gone to bed that night with some renowned stripper and groupie called Alison Rouse, who seems to be a very well-known groupie on the scene. And he was found to have had a heart attack induced by cocaine. So again, drugs at the heart of these people's sad, untimely deaths, and another great loss with John Entwistle, as well as Keith Moon from the Who. Another tragedy, probably one of the greatest of all time, is the loss of Jimi Hendrix, of course. Jimmy died on the 18th of September 1970, just 27 years old. And another incident of choking on his own vomit, and I think it was a case of an overdose on sleeping tablets. But what a talent! I mean, this guy has led the way for so many guitarists, and who knows what the face of rock music might be like today had Jimi Hendrix not shown up. Totally unique in his vibe, his appearance, and playing his guitar If I recall rightly, he played left-handed, and he just reversed the guitar around. There were no left-handed guitars in that time, and he just played with a ferocity and nothing like any other artist of the time. We got classics, Purple Haze, of course, Little Wing, um, All Along the Watchtower, which of course is a cover of Bob Dylan's, but an amazing version of that. Now, my introduction to Jimi Hendrix was through my sister, who had a single of Voodoo Child, and I listened to that and I loved the track, and I absolutely enjoyed getting into a lot of his stuff. Now, I must admit, I'm not a fanatical Hendrix lover, but there's a lot of stuff of his that I do like, and I really do appreciate what he's brought to the table. So a terrible loss there as well. Now, staying with amazing guitarists, and I say amazing guitarists, people might not think of Prince as a guitarist, but he certainly was. An extremely talented musician, songwriter, singer, guitarist, drummer, keyboard player. I think you name it, Prince could play it, and as well as being I think a good producer as well. Now, he died 21st of April 2016 at the age of 57, and I believe that was an accidental overdose of fentanyl. But again, how that happened, I don't know. I think I read that it was being investigated. I might be getting this mixed up with somebody else, but there were prescription drugs that were found to have fentanyl in, and there were effectively counterfeit prescription drugs, and I think it was a whole mess, and it was tragic. Now, I say that he was a great guitar player. If you've never watched his performance of While My Guitar Gently Weeps, where he comes on and joins Tom Petty on stage and Jeff Lynne, I think, as well as George Harrison's son on stage to do this tribute to him. The guitar solo that he pulls off on that video is absolutely outstanding. Not just the technicality of the playing, but the performance, the showmanship of it. There's one particular part where he sort of turns his back to the crowd and like leans into the crowd, and he's got his bodyguard there to sort of push him back up onto the stage. And then at the end of it all, he just throws his guitar in the air and walks away. It's absolutely incredible, and one of the most iconic guitar solos I've ever seen on video. So if you haven't seen that, I definitely recommend checking it out. Now, I've only got this and a couple of other albums on vinyl. I loved his early work as well, with Little Red Corvette, and some of the songs where his lyrics were maybe a little bit more dubious, but absolutely talented individually that is sadly missed. Another extremely talented guy from the pop world is Michael Jackson. Now, a lot of people have different opinions on Michael Jackson. Now, we all know how he acquired monikers like Wacko Jacko and what have you, and he seemed to be a troubled and somewhat strange individual. Certainly, he didn't end up dying looking like this. Lots of surgeries and lots of accusations about his personal life and what he got up to. But if we talk purely musical, a musical genius, I think, of course, performing with his brothers and the Jackson Five from an early age and going out alone and producing amazing solo records like this. So, this has got Thriller on, Beat It, Billie Jean, Human Nature. This is an absolutely fantastic album, fantastically produced by Quincy Jones as well. And again, such an iconic personality, um, not just for his singing, but his dancing and his performances. Some of the best videos probably ever. Thriller. I remember getting Thriller on video, which was kind of like the making of Thriller. It was probably the most extravagant video of its time. I think, was it John Landis was the producer of it, and it was absolutely incredible. Now, Jackson died on 25th of June 2009, due to allegedly a cardiac arrest as a result of an overdose. And I think he was just about to go on that sort of tour. He had this one man sort of show. I can't remember what the title of it was now, but he'd been doing lots of intense rehearsals and things. Now, whether the overdose was related to as many of these individuals, the pain that they were in, the discomfort, and that led to taking concoctions of drugs, etc., to get them through the days. And another individual, often referred to as the king of rock and roll by many, of course, is Elvis Presley. And this is another instance of remembering what I was doing when I was told, or who I was told. I remember my father shouting up the stairs to me to tell me that Elvis had died. I must admit to never been a huge Elvis fan. This is actually my mother-in-law's copy that she gave to me on a nice pink vinyl. It's got all the hits that Elvis would have done. But I do recall as a kid watching all of the Elvis movies. There were, kind of all the things that were on the TV at the time. Were all of those Elvis movies, and I had three older sisters, so I remember them kind of watching and swooning a little bit. And I was fortunate enough to go to Gracelands a couple of years ago, and although I'm not an Elvis fan, I really enjoyed visiting where he'd lived, getting an insight into the guy, into the family, seeing his decor of the time. Now, remembering that this is the late 70s. He actually died 16th of August 1977 at the age of 42. But in Gracelands there, you've got you end up coming off the tour, and you end up in a place where you see, I think it's his grave and his parents as well, are kind of either side of him. Um, Very sad, and I know that he was greatly missed by so many people. Now, back to the rock world a little bit with Def Leppard and Steve Clark, guitarist with Def Leppard. Appeared on the first few albums. I think he was a sort of founding member, and Steve Clark unfortunately died on the 8th of January 1991 at the age of just 30. And again, this is respiratory failure due to alcohol and prescription drugs. I think from memory, the Def Leppard gang had uh, realized that he was struggling, had a lot of problems, told him to kind of go away and sort himself out. And I think instead of doing that, he'd gone off for 6 months and sort of sat in a pub, around the corner from his digs and probably ended up drinking himself, literally almost to death. Um, and I know that Steve Clark was a massive loss to people, highly regarded individual. Just not just for his technical skills, but a well liked character. And with Def Leppard, with him on board, we got some great stuff from them. A little rawer, a little more edgy than the polished, overproduced stuff that we would get when I think it was Mutt Lang comes on board, and we get sort of pyromania and all of that stuff. But yeah, definitely sadly missed, as is attributed by this Tesla album, where Tesla do a track called Song and Emotion, which is dedicated to Steve Clark. Now, another guy is Lowell George. Don't know how many of you are fans of Little Feat, which was Lowell George's band. He was the main man for them. Also played with Zappa for a period of time. And Little Feat are one of those bands that I kind of dip into um, now and then, a much more kind of laid back, softer rock. This is a good album. Really like High Roller in particular on this. He's got a great voice and style. Now, he died 29th of June 1979 at the age of 34. Heart attack as a result of a heroin overdose. And I think Little Feat did continue without him. But I always, tend to think of them as being obviously a lot more successful with him in the band. Now, another band that continued after the loss of the individual we're going to talk about now is Alice in Chains. And of course, I'm talking about Lane Staley, who was the singer for Alice in Chains. That very distinctive voice and very distinctive sort of harmonies that he would do with Jerry Cantrell. Now, he was another guy that struggled with drug abuse, and we sadly, lost him on the 5th of April 2002 due to heroin and cocaine overdose. Now, Facelift was the album that got me into them, and was a great album. I'm just trying to see the track list. This is the one with Man in the Box, We Die Young, Man in the Box. Just a great, iconic Alice in Chains tracks, and a very distinctive vocal. In a similar vein, we've got Chuck Mosley from Faith No More. Now, he died a little later in life at the age of 57, long after leaving Faith No More. Though Faith No More did put out, a very nice sort of tribute to him about, how sadly missed he was, etc. And he passed away on 9th of November 2017 with due to a heroin overdose. Next up, we've got David Byron, singer from Uriah Heep, also the David Byron Band, and did a few solo albums as well. I must admit, Uriah Heep is a band that I came to relatively late. I want to say around the late 70s, really when John Sloman joined the band. And so that was long after David Byron had gone. But he had his own distinctive style. where I think Uriah Heep were finding that sort of blend of in the early days, a little bit rock, a little bit proggy, or almost for those early days. Now he died 28th of February 1985 at the age of 35, so still incredibly young when he went, and still had an awful lot to give. Still regarded very highly, I think, by Uriah Heep fans. Um, as I say, I tend to prefer the later Heap stuff, but a big miss nonetheless. Now, a couple of others, quick mentions. I say quick mention, but the first one is could be much higher up the list for me, and I'm talking about Janie Lane from Warrant. I was a big Warrant fan and a big Janie Lane fan. I think he was a great songwriter, and very underrated in terms of his talent. Did some great songs for Warrant. But one of the things that I really love that he did has never seen the light of day was the some demos he did under the moniker of Jabberwocky, and some of those are some incredible songs. I remember Washington Square was a song that he did, but there's many great tracks. You can find them on YouTube under if you search for Janie Lane, search for Jabberwocky. The production on them is not fantastic. I've had a CD of them of the demos for many years, but they have surfaced on YouTube and are well worth checking out if you're a Janie Lane fan. Now he died August 11th, 2011, at the age of 47 due to acute alcohol poisoning. Seemed to be a bit of a sad character at the time that he died. It seemed a bit lonely. I think I'm not sure whether his relationship had broke down, etc. But it was a bit of a sad end for uh, Jamie, and I think many people saw it coming for sure. Now Warrant have continued on, of course, but I don't think they've ever, hit or maintained the heights that they had with Jenny Lane at the helm. I mean, this is the highlight probably of Warrant's work, the Cherry Pie, with the iconic Cherry Pie track, but lots of other great tracks on here. Bed of Roses, for instance, Love in Stereo, Blind Faith, all really great tracks. Uncle Tom's Cabin is an absolute classic. So Warrant, Janie Lane, what can I say? Fantastic, and someone that I certainly miss. Now, another mention of Amy Winehouse. Now, I'm not the biggest pop fan, but there's something about Amy Winehouse that just stood out. There was something special about her, wasn't there? If you ever saw her singing, I remember seeing some clips of her in Ronnie Scott's jazz club, and she just had so much about her, so much charisma, her own unique style, not just in terms of singing, but fashion, everything about her. Always seemed mature, sort of way beyond her years, and as I say, an absolutely incredible singer. And now tragically had this tragic relationship, which I won't go into, which seemed to be very destructive. I think she had all sorts of problems with bulimia, etc. And I think that her family claimed that a death really wasn't related so much to drugs, but more to the bulimia, and she died at just 27, like so many others, like Jimi Hendrix, like Jim Morrison, who I've got no records of, unfortunately, to show. Janis Joplin was another, all thought to be of the 27 Club. Another one on the metal scene is Kevin DeBrow. Kevin died 19th of November 2007 at the age of 52 after an overdose of a real mix of things: cocaine, alcohol, painkillers, and very sadly wasn't found for about 6 days after friends had not been able to contact him, and then he didn't show up for a Thanksgiving dinner at Glenn Hughes's house. So another mention for Glenn Hughes there. Um, um, uh, uh, you know, Quiet Riot were a great band. I actually, again, really enjoyed them with Paul Shortino, who was only there for one album, but really good stuff under Kevin DeBrow as well. That great sort of raspy sort of voice, particularly like some of the covers that they did, ironically. Come On Feel the Noise from Slade. They also did Ichiku Park. Not the best version of Ichiku Park. The chorus is good, but the verses are terrible on this particular one. But Kevin DeBrow, a great rock singer. And then a quick mention for Tom Petty, who also died from an accidental overdose from a combination of prescription drugs. So really sad when that's the case. I think he was in lots of pain, problems with his knees, broken hip, all kinds of things, and died on the 2nd of October 2017 at the age of 66. Now, this is just a single, but I did like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, tracks like Refugee, etc. Not the kind of vocals that I particularly love. So he was a bit of an acquired taste for me. A bit more drawly, etc. But a great songwriter for sure. And then last, but probably not least, is Dee Dee Ramone from the Ramones, who died on the 50th of June 2002 at the age of 50 from heroin overdose. And, the Ramones are one of those kind of iconic bands, aren't they, for American kind of punk. Not a band that I was massively into, if I'm honest. But certainly some great tracks. Got more of a sort of anthology here, if I can read it. Of course, a Blitzkrieg Bop, we all know, was probably one of the most iconic ones, but lots of great sort of punky kind of anthems from them. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Just wanted to kind of highlight some of those, sad losses. Feel like it's been a bit of a somber, depressing video, perhaps. But I just thought it was interesting, first of all, to see how many people we sadly lost, and I know that there were lots more than the ones I've been able to show. But some amazing talents that's been lost along the way. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of this content, hit the subscribe button. But until next time, bye for now.